Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome. It is finally time for our first Advent Calendar Reveal Live. I am so excited you're here. I can see the comments filling up as we are getting started on both Facebook and YouTube today. So as you're hopping on, make sure you say hello to us. And if you are on our YouTube channel, we've got a poll for you to answer, a quick question that we want to hear from you. Before we get started, I have a surprise for you guys today. Are you ready? Eek! It's Whitney. We decided to do these Facebook Lives together.
Yes!
I thought it'd be fun, at least at the beginning.
We're so excited. We're merry today.
Yes, we wore our merry best.
Yes!
I love your sweatshirt. It's super cute.
I told Taylor I'm not as cool and well-dressed as her, but I can definitely pull off a nice sweatshirt. So
I love it.
I did it.
Now I'm worried if we're going to do this together, do we have to coordinate?
I was thinking that
Because I
too.
wasn't thinking about this when I bought my outfits for the Advent Lives.
Sure.
So maybe you'll just be merry every
Send
week.
me your ideas, and then you usually dress me anyways, so just let me know.
That's usually how it goes with older sister, younger sister. You just get the hand-me-downs, and you know, we've kind of carried that on through life.
Yes. Taylor knows what she likes, and I like what Taylor likes, so it kind of works for us.
Well, we are excited you're here today, and we've been waiting. We've been waiting to share the Advent calendar with all of you and hear your excitement for it.
Yes.
And one of the best parts of the Tailored Expressions Advent calendar is the way that the daily gifts are curated to all go together to create something fun. And so that's what we get to do on these Friday Lives. We get to chat, talk about the stress of the holidays, but take a moment to just enjoy, relax,
something for
craft.
yourself. That's what I love. Every day I get to open something for myself. That never happens. I got one of those like little dinky chocolate ones one time.
Yes.
I was like, this is not enough chocolate for me. So this is way better. I don't know if anyone else is on that same page, but this is way better than that dinky chocolate I got every day.
The daily chocolate, the one little bar of chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't know us very well. We need like a whole box of chocolate every day.
True.
It has been fun. I got an Advent calendar to open with my girls. It's a one with makeup and skincare in it because that's the age we're at for my kids now.
Yep.
No more toys. We're buying curling irons and makeup and all
girly
the things.
stuff.
All the girly things. So, all right. Well, why don't we get started on taking a look at the projects? Okay.
I'm so excited.
I am going to end up moving these out of the way so that we can actually open the Advent calendar envelopes together, and I'll talk through all of the gifts that you received, and then we'll make some of these pretty things so that you can get some ideas for using the gifts that you received. Look at these. Aren't they so pretty? Gift tags, that is something that we all work on kind of, well, or maybe I shouldn't say we all. I work on them last minute. So hopefully this is a timely gift for you as you're thinking about wrapping a lot of Christmas gifts. You've got something that will work for tags. But we also, maybe for next year, if your cards are already finished, these work great for cards too. So really what I want to do is just give you lots of ideas for using the items that you received. Whether you're going to use them now or later, you'll get lots of inspiration. So I've got my Advent calendar here, just like all of you did. I have loved seeing how you guys all hung your Advent calendars creatively in your craft spaces or in your homes. These envelopes this year, weren't they just gorgeous? I have seen some beautiful projects on the fan page of people who have saved these, kind of the front of each of the envelopes. You can cut it apart and use it on a project, on a card. So if you just cover up the number with a sentiment, there are some great ideas on the fan page. So I am going to take out number 1 through 6, and we're also going to talk about our special gift to you because I know many of you pre-ordered the Advent calendar, and this was our special gift to those of you that pre-ordered. And that pre-order happens all the way back in July, which really helps us plan how many of these products we need to order. As you can imagine, these boxes don't go together lickety-split. They take a lot of A lot of just care and effort goes into putting each gift in each bag, sealing all the bags, putting all the bags in the boxes. So that's why we start so early on that. And you can kind of mark July in your brain for next year if you want to make sure you get in on the pre-order of the Advent calendar. Okay, so here it is for those of you that pre-ordered if you opened your special gift. If not, this is your first look at it. This is a fun little punch that is going to be the handy dandiest thing to have in your craft room. I know I used to have a corner punch that got worn out. I used it so much that it actually stopped working. So we have come up with the most versatile corner punch you've ever seen. It has a small, medium, and large, so you can get all of those in one punch. You can see if I turn it over here, there are 3 different areas that punch. So let me show you how this works. I have a couple of pieces of cardstock here, and I want to compare them for you so you can see them side by side. So what we're going to do, and you can use it this way, from the top is probably the easiest because you can see the markings for which size corner round you want. So let's stick this one in the small and just click the little punch and you have a beautifully rounded corner. Now let's do the medium on this piece. And you just want to make sure when you insert the corner of your paper, it should insert perfectly all the way, push it all the way into the punch, and then just click that down, and there is the medium. Now let's turn this to the side and we'll do the large, and then I'll hold them up and show you all in comparison. So this is the large. So let's take a look. I'll get my scraps off of here. Here's the small, the medium, and the large. So each of them gives you just a little bit. This one is the smallest corner round and then the largest. Just a little bit different look. You can use these corner rounds on card bases, or you could even put them on the bottom of the tags we're going to be making today. The tag shape is arched, and so you could round the bottom corners just slightly to keep them a little less sharp. There are lots of things you can do with this. So hopefully you find this to be a very versatile gift, and of course it's Taylor's favorite teal, so if you keep it on your desktop it's going to match perfectly with all the things like our handy holder and our little reverse tweezers and our big magnets and everything teal you can imagine. Okay, so should we open number 1?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's time. If you're trying to save these bags for maybe a project, you want to cut them apart, just really gently take off that seal. I'll probably get less gentle as the weeks go on,
right,
but just wanted to mention that. All right, gift number 1 is a bottle of liquid watercolor in the color Brussels Sprout. So liquid watercolor is something we have in our collection, and it is made to match our inks and cardstocks. I love that about being able to easily match everything, and we're going to talk about all the different ways you can use this, but one of the cool things about this is even if you have all of our liquid watercolors, you don't have this one because this is a new color this year and we don't have it or didn't have it until now in liquid watercolor. So I will set that aside. We'll talk more about liquid watercolor and all of its uses when we do our project today. But it is obviously a really fun watercolor medium for coloring imagery and creating backgrounds and all kinds of stuff. So let's take a look in envelope number 2. I know. I'm kind of wondering if anybody waited to open all the gifts this week, or
yes,
I know some of you like to open all 6 gifts in one at the beginning of the week, so you have things you can use together. But here is gift number 2. This is a water brush. So to go with your watercolor, you can unscrew this from the, let me see here. I got to do it in the opposite direction, right?
Yes.
I have to tell myself that because, okay, so when you guys open this for the first time, you unscrew this and you can put water right in here so that the water and your brush is all in one. Makes it really easy to paint, especially for a beginner. This is a really simple way to do watercoloring. So just one thing to be aware of is I think this spins or opens in kind of the opposite of the natural direction that you would probably try to spin it.
Right.
So if you're spinning it and it just feels like it's not going anywhere, spin it the opposite direction and it will open very easily. So just a little tip there that it might take your brain a few seconds to realize that we need to turn this the opposite way. Okay, so that is number 2, and let's move on to number 3, and this one is a favorite. Okay, we're gonna pull out number 3, and this has a little note with it to explain what in the world you want to do with this cute little thing. Look at how cute this is.
I'm so excited about this one.
This has been a favorite around the office, and we have been waiting to share it with all of you and use it on our craft desk because it is going to become a very useful little dish. Okay, this is called the Scrub-A-Dub Bud. It looks like a flower, so that's where we got that from. It says, clean up your act by scrub-a-dub-dubbing your blender brushes and paint brushes in this cute silicone bud. And extra good news, if you're craving s'mores while you craft, the bud can take heat up to 375 degrees.
What?
I don't know that I would put it in your oven for any reason, but you could heat marshmallows in there if you wanted to, right?
Yes.
Well, let me show you a couple other uses for this. Beyond putting water in here and washing your blender brushes or your paint brushes, one of the things I cannot wait to use it for. Anybody have this in your craft room? This was one of our most popular releases this year. This is called our Clean Sweep, and it is a stamp cleaning tool. This pad with all of these tiny bristles just velcros on the bottom so you can remove it and clean it and then replace it back on. And one of the things I've noticed is the bottom of my Clean Sweep gets dirty, and I don't always wash it after every time I use it, but I need to have a spot to rest it because I'm often just setting it down like this and then it's kind of rolling around on my desk and I'm worried that it's going to hit one of my projects, or I'm going to absentmindedly one of these times just set it down on one of my projects and ruin it. So we need a little place to rest our Clean Sweep. Look at how perfect that fits. Put your Clean Sweep right inside your Scrub-A-Dub Bud. It can stay dry in the bottom. I wouldn't recommend resting it in there while it's completely wet, but it works as a great little desktop storage spot for your Clean Sweep. We're going to be using it today with some water in it, and I'll be washing my brushes as we do some watercoloring a little bit later. But there you have the Scrub-A-Dub Bud. Now we're on to number 4.
Oh, everyone's so excited about the Clean Sweep.
Yay!
Hang in there. The Clean Sweep fits perfect.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, and I saw Kelly asked if you can get extra pads for the Clean Sweep. We do sell extra replacement pads. I think the original box comes with an extra or 2 in there. I think it's actually 2. You get 2 Clean Sweep pads when you buy the original tool. So, all right, this is number 4. All right, now, again, to go along with the watercolor theme, if you haven't caught the theme for this week, these are watercolor tags. Go with the flow in artistic watercolor flow using these beautiful holiday designs pre-printed on watercolor cardstock. Use with TE liquid watercolors or your watercolor pencils and create mini works of art to add to your holiday gifts. So take a look at these pre-printed designs. You get 2 each of 6 different designs. And you'll notice there are different shapes on here. Some of these are formatted differently to be cut out, and I think you'll know why when we get to the next gift. So here you can see this one in that arch shape. There are to from on some of them, and then some of them just have sentiment, so you could use them as tags or you could use them as a focal image on your card. So there's your watercolor tags. There are 12 of them in the package. Candy's asking if you can foil them. No, these are not printed with toner, and that is intentional because you do intend to add watercolor to these, and so having them printed not with toner is the way to go. So our watercolor panels, all of them that we currently offer or have offered in the past, cannot be foiled. Good question. Thank you for asking that. All right, now we are on to gift number 5. Okay.
What could it be?
It's a die. And it is, just like I mentioned, perfect for using as a tag to cut out the designs that are pre-printed on these watercolor panels. So you can see the smaller interior die cuts these little guys into small tags, and I'm going to show you some ideas for using those. And then you have the large tag to cut out the other artwork. Of course, you'll want to separate these so that you have 2 separate tags, just using your wire snips to cut off that piece that connects the 2 dies. And then you'll have those dies to cut out your tags. Okay, and you don't have to just use them with these. These are just really versatile tag shapes to have and fun to use for lots of things. All right, now moving on to, last but not least, we are going to open today's special gift.
Oh, Taylor, please.
I know, it's my favorite one. This was my favorite thing in the whole advent calendar, and it did take some figuring out. So it was not a quick and easy, let's do this, and it just came about. So I hope you guys love it as much as I do. Here it is, your very own mini glass board.
It's so cute, and it's teal.
It is, it's teal, and it says it has our logo on it with the rainbow stripe around the outside. Let's open it up here and read our little insert. It says, this fun-sized version of our glass board is the perfect space to apply and reuse splatter medium, liquid watercolor, and mixed media paste. Note, apply the 4 non-slip pads to the bottom of the glass board, 1 in each corner. So these that are included in here, there are 4 little circle pads, and you're just gonna peel those off. Let's see if I can get my crazy nails underneath here. A die pick might be helpful too if you're not getting the little circle to come off, but 1 in each corner is going to keep it from slipping around, especially if you're using it on a glass board. It's nice and stays in place. Now, why would you want a mini glass board? Besides just the obvious, this thing is so cute factor, there is a really practical use for this. So I am always, if you've hung around the Tailored Expressions lives, you have probably seen me take an acrylic block, and that is how I travel my splatter into my splatter box. I put a little bit of splatter medium out on here, put some water on it, and then I put my acrylic block in my splatter box and do my splattering. Well, I wanted something portable in this super easy to clean glass surface, and so that's what you have here with our mini glass board. I am going to be using it today to put some of our splatter medium on, and we'll mix it with water and then we'll splatter it. So this is portable. It can be taken to your splatter box. It can be used with any type of splatter medium, watercolor. Like the little note said, you can put a little bit of paste on there. If you want to mix paste with ink, you can do that. So lots and lots of hopefully really something that's useful in your craft room. And if you don't have a glass board, hopefully this gives you a little taste of a fun-size version with quick and easy cleanup. Okay, so is it time to get crafty?
I think so.
I think so too.
Show me some inspiration, because I want to use this like today.
Everybody's excited to get to making their things. So as I showed you at the beginning, this works awesome for tagging. So we're gonna be doing some watercoloring, cutting these into tags, showing you some other Tailored Expressions products. You see that fun stamp in the background? I'm gonna show you some other products that coordinate well with this, some different stamps with sentiments, dies, even background stamps that work well for combining with this tag artwork. Now another thing, I thought this was so cool, so I gotta show you guys. I didn't really know this was a thing in Iowa. I can't say I've seen one, but Sue was telling me at her house she has a holly bush, and she cut me several sprigs from her holly bush. Look at those beautiful bright red berries. She uses these. She said her holly bush is just blooming like crazy this year, and so she uses these as little picks, like real live picks in her gift wrapping. So of course you would cut this down a little bit more, but I just wanted to show you how fun that would be. I'd love to hear from anybody in the comments who may also have a holly bush. I am seriously considering planting one. I just think this is so fun. So we were asking her all kinds of questions, like do the berries come out all year round, or what color is the plant in the summer? So I feel like I've gotten a little bit of an education on the holly plant this past week as I've been working on these projects, but I thought that was really fun. So next up, a little way to, let's say you want to gift a little set of tags. We're going to talk about how you can do that using one of our products called the Tag Treat Wrap. This is a die that creates this little box, and there's apparently so much you can do with this. We thought of it as a way to gift treats, but look what fits perfectly inside that little box. I've got a whole set of tags. You can tie that together with a little twine across the top, and then you have a little set of tags that you can gift. So that's another idea. Then today I want to show you different ways to use the watercolor. So if you have, of course, all of you, if you got the advent calendar, you have those pre-printed cards, but there are so many things you can do with watercolor that don't necessarily require the pre-printed cards. So I'm going to show you this fun card over here with this striped Christmas tree that I created, and we'll be doing a little bit of splatter on this card. And another product that goes really well with these are the arch stacklets. So you can create a layer for your tag with our arch stacklets if you want to go that direction as well. And then take a look at this fun background stamp. We're going to be using this one is called A Thrill of Hope, and it's actually one of our pull-apart stamps. So you can take that sentiment right out of the center, which is what we'll be doing, and then stamping that background to have a landing place for all of your focal pieces. So another great one.
Those are gorgeous.
Thank you. That. I know. Now I'm kind of glad I don't have all of my Christmas cards finished, because I can just keep going on this route. So I'm having fun with this. Okay, so let's do some watercoloring. What are some things you need if you want to watercolor? Well, one of the most important things is watercolor medium. And liquid watercolor is different for Tailored Expressions because if you have our inks, I know a lot of you that have dye-based inks are used to pressing that ink pad onto a surface like a glass board or an acrylic block, and then picking the ink up with your watercolor pen and then or brush and painting it on your cardstock. However, Tailored Expressions ink is a little bit different. It is an archival-based ink, which means it holds its color better than other dye-based inks. It is more intense and vibrant, and it blends particularly well. So there are definitely benefits to having this ink type that outweighed for me the ability to watercolor with it. So we have our line of liquid watercolor that does move with water and perfectly matches all of our inks. So that is what we're going to be using today. But of course, if you have another watercolor medium like pencils or watercolor crayons or those kind of things, you can use those on these as well. These, as I mentioned, are pre-printed on watercolor cardstock. And if you wanted to be able to stamp on some plain watercolor cardstock that is the same as this. They are printed on our 118-pound watercolor cardstock. So this is available in our store. If you just love watercoloring and you want to be able to stamp imagery and watercolor it, you can stamp it with our Oreo hybrid ink, which is waterproof, meaning it won't move or bleed when you watercolor over it. So these are, again, pre-printed on the 118-pound. We're going to use the Brussels sprout. I also will be using cherry pop for the berries. So that's the only other color I'm going to bring in. And one of the great things about liquid watercolor is you can really vary the intensity of the color just by how much water you add with the ink itself. So this color is Brussels sprout straight out of the bottle. However, if you dilute it with enough water, you're going to get to a color more like green tea, which is a kind of companion color to the Brussels sprout in the same color family. I'm going to put 2 drops of liquid watercolor out on this palette. My palette is ceramic. I find a little bit better I guess, use with a ceramic palette. I just picked this up at Hobby Lobby many, many years ago.
I love it.
Isn't it fun?
Yes.
It's like a rose. It's supposed to look like a rose, but it has all these fun little openings in it.
Different size openings.
Different sizes,
too.
depending on how much water you want to add. You might want to put it in a bigger opening, or if you're not adding much water, then put it in a smaller opening. But the ceramic versus plastic, sometimes I find that the watercolor pools up on a plastic palette. So if you are out and about looking, I would recommend checking for a ceramic palette. So then also we have our water brush. Now this I think is a great beginner tool for watercoloring, but you can go really crazy with watercolor brushes. There are some that are upwards of $30 a piece for a watercolor brush. I am not that fancy. So I love this and truly still consider myself to be a beginner watercolorist. So what I'm going to show you today is my own method of just what I call messy watercoloring. Watercoloring is supposed to be imperfect. You're never going to do the same thing twice. So hopefully you're on board for a little bit something not perfect today. Okay, I am also using our dropper bottle, and this is just filled with water. So I do want to dilute this just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add, let's do 3-4 drops of water. And again, the lighter you want your watercolor, the more water you would add. So I'm going to show you just for kicks. Let's put 1 drop of watercolor in here, and then we're going to do 1 drop of water. And I'll show you, you can simply create a watercolor wash background if you choose to go that direction. Super easy. Let me grab my water brush here and take the lid off. I would recommend with this water brush, you don't need to squeeze that barrel. The water is just going to flow for you. So just be very careful where you're holding it. If you like to hold it up here, hold it loosely. Otherwise, kind of hold it down here on the neck as a pencil and just let that water flow naturally. Another thing you want to have when you're watercoloring is just a paper towel. So I'm going to set one right here. If you feel like you're getting more water than you want coming out of your brush, one thing you'll often see me doing is just tapping off onto the paper towel, which is going to pull that water out. And that's a good tip for if you're running into, I feel like I have too much water on my project. So let's just take some of this watercolor now. I'm going to just show you a very simple wash using these 2 different strengths of the watercolor. So you can simply just paint all the way down your paper. It's more concentrated at the top, and then as you continue to go and the color leaves your brush, it's going to get lighter and lighter. Now, if you want something darker, let's go ahead and grab some of this that only has 1 drop of water in it, and it's going to start out darker at the top here, and then again continue to lighten towards the bottom. Pretty, right? You can even see.
I want just that.
This one is still kind of continuing to pull out because it had more color towards the top. So yeah, and you can use it straight from the bottle as well. If you're going to use it without diluting it, I would recommend wetting your paper first and then putting the color on it, because it is very intense color, and if you're putting it directly onto dry paper, it's just gonna soak that color in and you're gonna have a harder time moving it if there's no moisture on your paper to begin with.
That's a great tip.
So hopefully that helps get you started on some of the possibilities and how to use the watercolor. Let's go ahead and just start coloring. This is where the messy begins, because I don't have, I'm gonna get a little bit closer in here so y'all can see me applying this. I'll try to, Whitney, tell me if I get out of screen.
Okay.
So this is where the messy comes in. I am going to try to avoid the little dots that are red, that are berries, because I want to put my glitter drops on them in a little bit. But the rest of this, I am just, like I said, gonna messy color this with my water brush. And I'm not pushing. I don't want any water coming out or any excess water. I'm kind of moving through until I feel like I lost the color out of my brush, and then I come and dip back into the ceramic dish. And then after we get this applied, like a first round, we'll talk about if you want to get some deeper dimension and color, you can do that. One of the really important things to note when you're using watercolor and adding dimension is you need to wait for the first layer to dry. Otherwise, if you're just continuing to add darker color over wet watercolor, the whole thing is just gonna meld together and not give you that dimension that you're looking for. Also important, before you paint your red berries, make sure your green is completely dry. Otherwise, you will have the colors seep together, and red and green, you know, they make a really pretty brown. So that's not really what you want. Okay, and it's okay to color outside of the lines because we will be cutting this out with that coordinating die. All right, almost around the edge here. I didn't try too hard to stay inside the lines, did I? It was that messy looking watercolor that
and I love it.
I love that look, and it's approachable and it's easy and it's fast. Those are all things that are important to me. So, okay, now I am going to clean, let's say you want to clean your brush out. I'm going to move to a little bit darker green, so I don't necessarily need to clean the brush out, but if you were moving from a different color family, the way to clean your brush out, you can simply squeeze now because you want the water to come out, and you can just kind of brush it on your paper towel until that comes out. You can see that the bristles are stained, but as long as the water that is traveling out of the brush is clear, then you're good to go to your next color. Now, if you're using paint brushes, let me bring this little guy in there because it has that surface on the bottom that is kind of scrubby. So if you've got stubborn color in there, or you'll see if later on we're going to use this same brush to splatter, and that splatter material can get up into those bristles and need a little bit more just coaxing to get out. So having this nice dish to wash your brushes in is helpful as well. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take the little bit darker green now that my piece is dry here, and I am going to start painting that kind of towards the base of some of my spriggy pieces here. maybe highlighting a few of the stems. So if you wanted to get really fancy, you could paint those stems brown instead of just painting the whole thing green. Kind of adding some of those drops of color towards the stem of the foliage is going to give you a little bit of dimension using a slightly darker version of the same watercolor. And you could even go lighter with with the green we painted at the beginning too. I feel like I have to be a little bit, I did say this is very imperfect and fast, but I do get a little quieter when I'm thinking. So I can tell I'm thinking a little bit, maybe thinking too much. Don't let yourself get into the overthinking mode when you watercolor.
Someone said, I'm impressed Taylor can talk and color at the same time.
Oh, yay.
You're doing it.
Okay, well, I was quiet for about 10 seconds, and then I was like, okay, I need to talk again. And if you feel like you lay down color that is too dark, you can just brush that color off onto your paper towel, and then you can come back and kind of pull it up. If you have excess moisture or more color than you wanted, that is how you can kind of move backwards to something a little bit lighter.
We have a question about the pre-printed watercolor panels.
Yes.
Are you able to blend over these watercolor panel cards with TE inks, or is it strictly just for watercoloring?
Well, it is watercolor cardstock, so you might not have the best, the similar results that you would have with our sugar cube cardstock and blending, but you can definitely blend over these. And even one of my thoughts was, when I was making this card, I could take some light blue ink and kind of blend in from the edges to give it a little bit of softness around there. So yes, the answer is you can totally blend on these. Just be aware that it might not look exactly like it does on your smooth sugar cube cardstock that you might be used to. Good question though.
Perfect.
And you can also, maybe if somebody else is thinking this, can I use markers on it? Markers are going to be a little tougher, like alcohol markers, because they pull the color into the fibers of the paper, and it is meant to absorb a lot of color. That's why you use watercolor paper, because you want it to absorb water and continue absorbing the water as you keep adding water to it. So sometimes when you're using alcohol markers, it's not the best option for blending them in multiple colors. But if you wanted to do a quick lay of marker on there, as long as you're not going over it multiple times, that's when you're going to start seeing the seeping outside of the lines. So if we wanted to, we could take some of this. I'm going to come over here and just drip some lighter color. We could come in here and kind of paint around the openings a little bit, and then fill in some of that white space with just a little more look of fullness in those branches. And then I am going to take, this is my trick for when you want to move along faster. If I don't want to wait for that to dry by air, I'm going to take my heat tool here and dry it just to make sure it's dry before we add the red dots. Okay. Now let's go ahead. I do like to shake my watercolors before I use them, especially if they've been on your shelf for a while. That's just going to get those, whatever settles in the bottom, kind of moving around again. So I'm just going to do one little drop of the red, and we'll do one little drop of water too. I use this eyedropper a lot. It's one of those little tools that you're like, you know, it's an eyedropper. It's not like fancy and super fun to buy, but something that gets used a lot. All right, finding those little dots among the foliage and just coloring them in with a little bit of red. There's really not a lot of shading that needs to happen with these tiny little berries. So just popping some red in there. And then the fun part that I did on my project was adding red glitter drops in different spots on there. So where did I have that one? I think it's in here. So here's what the final tag looked like with a few of those drip drops kind of popped in. And I covered up some of the painted berries, but I left some painted, and then I made up spots for some of those other ones too. So
gorgeous.
Kind of fun, right? All right, we'll set that one aside, let the red dry. If you wanted a dimensional berry, let's say you have some of the different panels that have larger berries, I was finding a good companion color for that would be the mulled wine. If you look here, I started by painting the cherry pop, and then I added a little bit of the mulled wine in there to give it some dimension as well. So that's an option for dimensional coloring or watercoloring with that red color. I do want to show you one of these, so I'm going to go ahead and just paint one of these really quickly. We're going to start with that lighter green color. We'll do this one here. And again, just messy. I'm not trying to paint inside the lines on the entire piece. I think it gives it a little bit more of that watercolored effect if you intentionally leave some white space inside of your imagery. And again, that takes a little bit of thinking because I know we're all very conditioned to color completely inside the lines, but try to allow yourself to let it be imperfect. So you can see some of those white spaces that I left in the leaves, just give it a little bit more movement. All right, let's pull in, I don't think I added too much water there. I was touching it to make sure that it was dry. Here's another little tip, another way you can think about watercoloring. You can actually add water to the paper first, and then if you just take and touch your tip of your pen to the paper, it's going to spread in that opening and kind of travel where you've applied water. So again, you can add water to the leaf, kind of this base part here, grab a little color and just dip it on there, and you can see that watercolor just start to travel up the leaf. Now if you want to add a little bit more flicking or darker color in there, you can certainly do that. I'm going to keep it pretty simple on this one so we can keep moving on to other fun stuff.
Can you use Prismacolor pencils?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Right?
You can use Prismacolor pencils and Gamsol, or if you don't have Gamsol, you can just use colored pencils too. These are great. That's one of the things I love about these panels is that they are pre-printed. So you don't have to, if you're going on a quick trip and you just want to pack a quick little project, you can grab whatever coloring medium you want and kind of take it on the go. And we do have one other pack currently in stock. We're working on some more, so those of you that love these pre-printed cards, hopefully this year we've got some more of these coming for you as we get that artwork kind of finished up. So there is one other pack. I forget the name of it. Is it called Watercolor Panels or Watercolor Cards? So there's what that one looks like. I'm only going to do one on this piece, but you guys get the idea. We'll let those dry. Before my watercolor dries out, let's do our next project. I definitely want to make sure that I show you guys how to do this fun tree, right? Isn't that so cute? I made that and I was just tickled. So it's super easy. I am going to back out just a little bit to walk you through how to mask that triangular tree piece onto the project. So I want to make sure I don't mess anything up that I've done. because I need to bring in my die cut machine here. So I am going to be using a die. This is our die that is free with orders of $100 or more this month. But you might have some other kind of triangle in your collection. Oddly, I did not have another triangle in the Tailored Expressions collection. So I'm going to be using this Giftables Pretty Pyramid in order to create the mask that we're going to be using for this Christmas tree. And let's see. I love it when projects kind of, I guess, inform future products. So as I was trying to find a triangle, we were, Susan and Sue and I were all saying, we really need a set of triangles. So, and then we got into the definition of triangles, equilateral triangles versus isosceles triangles. So I just want one triangle. So that's what I am positioning on top here. I am going to tape it down just so that I make sure that I get it right in the spot that I want it. And I'm cutting that out of Post-it removable labeling tape. And hopefully you'll see why here in just a second. So this particular triangle, because it's designed to be a favor box, this line down the center of the triangle is actually a score line and not a cut line. So I'm gonna have to do a little fancy finagling here. I'm gonna take my scissors and just cut on the score line so that I should have, do I have a longer bladed scissors up here? Or could you grab me one? A long bladed scissors is just gonna make sure I don't hack at it and get, that's great, thank you. So I can just take one slice and line it up and just, there we go. That's a little easier. So definitely if you have a long blade scissors, go that direction.
EC says, no geometry, please.
Yeah, oddly, I was bad at geometry. I mean, maybe not oddly. I am, for those who don't know, I am a numbers person. I have a degree in accounting and somehow ended up in this creative field. But geometry was not my forte. I did not like it. And I was not good at it. Okay, so we have our little triangle and it is sticky on the back. So I am going to center it as best as I can on this piece of watercolor cardstock. This is our 118 pound. And I'm just gonna tack it down there in the center. Now, what we're gonna do next is take more of this Post-it removable labeling tape. And I'm going to line up the edges of my triangle with this, with these pieces of removable labeling tape. And that is how we are going to create this mask. And you could reuse this mask over and over, just keep it in place and move it to your next piece of cardstock. So should I pull out this bad boy? Pretty excited about this. Did anybody get one of these over our Black Friday holiday sales? I'm going to use the kind of die pick end to just pick that piece of maybe paper out of the middle here because we don't need that anymore. That was just providing the template to create the mask. Now, with our leftover watercolor, I'm going to straighten this out for myself because I want to make sure my lines are straight on my little Christmas tree. Okay, so I'm going to get this to come off of my glass board. Maybe.
It was doing a good job keeping it tacked down.
It sure was. Okay, I just want to straighten my paper out so that I know my tree is straight on there. And then we're going to take this leftover watercolor. I'm going to bring back my piece here just so that I can remember. Oops, wrong brush. This one is the one that has water in it. I want my paper towel nearby. Now let's remember which one of these. This is the darker one and this is the lighter. Oh, they both look about the same. So let's see. We want to take this one I want to take this one. Okay, this one is darker. So I'm going to start with the darker one, the one that has less water in it. And we are just going to paint some stripes, which is super easy. Take that water in your water brush and just paint it across the tree.
I love this look.
Isn't it fun?
Yes, and I love how the color just melds as you keep going, and then, oh, yes.
Then grab some more watercolor as soon as your watercolor kind of starts to look, and you can go over lines more than once as well if you want them to be thicker, or we're just going to keep on going until that color gets lighter and lighter, and then we're going to go ahead and take some more. I want to make sure that I've got water in my brush, but not too much. There we go. I know some of you are probably thinking, I can't paint in straight lines. And my lines are not straight. Just so you know. They are a little wobbly, but I think that adds to the character of the tree.
Mm-hmm. It does. Because the finished product that you have, that card, is just gorgeous, and
it's really,
your focal is just drawn, your eye is just drawn in. So
yes,
really...
and we're kind of putting stuff over the top of it. The sentiment's gonna go on there, and then we've got little ornaments to decorate the tree also. So, all right, I do want to put a little more color at the bottom here. So that's going to be kind of the base of the tree. And then this little triangle at the top where we started, I'm going to color that in so that we have like an actual top and a bottom to our tree. Little triangle piece up there.
Cute!
There it is! All right, now comes the fun part. We get to take off our mask. If you want to keep this in place, then kind of, or intact, then kind of pull these three pieces up together. My glass board really wants to hang on to everything, which is a great
feature.
Great helpful thing when you want it to. All right, one important thing is if you do have excess water around the edges, either sop that up very carefully so it doesn't bleed back onto your paper, or wait until it dries to remove this, because if there is water around the edges and you're pulling this up, it's just going to drip onto your project. So then when we remove our template here, and here's where you can reuse this multiple times if you want. You've got your little template made, and you can stick it back down on something to keep it safe, and you've got your cute little tree.
So cute. I love it.
All right, so we've done quite a bit of painting. Let's do a little die cutting now. I'm gonna try and move the watery things out of the way, because this is how this is how I roll. I would probably drop this or spill it somehow. Okay, so we've got these that need to be cut. We've got these that need to be cut. So we'll grab our die cut machine. And then we have those dies that you got in your kit or in your advent calendar. And we're gonna use the large one to cut out the arched tag here. Make sure you do your die cutting before you put those red berries on. They will crush if you send them through the die cut machine.
Thank you for going over that tip.
Yes.
I missed it. I would have been like, oh.
Whitney's over here crushing glitter drops through the die cut machine.
Crushed glitter drops. Crushed dreams and glitter drops.
Okay, so that is that one. And then there are holes built into these dies, so they're designed to be tag dies. And you can just pop out that hole then. And then the other die is the smaller one, and it fits just perfectly around these pre-printed pieces. So line up the edges of that artwork with the tag die and tack that down. And we'll send that through. Christine says if I'm a beginner, she's in the remedial class. I don't believe it. I think anyone can do this. All right, now I have one more thing. So this one I colored ahead of time, and I wanted to show you how I used this little tag treat wrap. And this treat wrap comes, it looks like this. Here's my die. So it's all one piece. You can cut that out of whatever color you want to make your little pouch out of. And then there are these side pieces that fold up to create the box sides for your treat wrap. And then there's also this piece that goes on the front of the box. So if you have one of these, this one happened to work out perfectly because it fits so nicely on that. That was a happy accident. I did not ahead of time think of this idea. So it does fit just perfectly with that tag treat wrap, this particular design. So we'll send that through. We're gonna go over today, Whitney.
I'm here for it.
Okay.
Today is Crafty Friday. I spend my day crafting.
Yes.
So
I
let's
just
do it.
looked up to take a breath and I was thinking, oh my, it's late, but that's all right. Everybody has been looking forward to this, so hopefully you don't mind hanging out a bit longer. Okay, so we've got then our arch stacklets that I'm going to cut this little tree out that we made. And I'm just going to center it on there. Okay.
Ooh, someone's asking if you're going to do splatter today.
Yes.
Perfect. Love it.
That's why I'm looking at what I have left to do and thinking it's going to be a minute.
I love it. Class is in session, friends.
I did do some pre-cutting on this one, so I need to grab my watercolor one more time. I forgot to paint my little tree trunk at the bottom, so I've got chocolate truffle watercolor for that, and I'm just going to put one little drop. The great thing about this liquid watercolor is it's going to last you a very long time. You're using 1 or 2 drops out of the bottle, and I mean, you can use more. You can mix the colors, which is super fun. Way to get even more value out of your liquid watercolors. All right, so I'm just gonna add my little tree trunk down here, centered on the bottom of the tree. Want it a little darker, added a little more color. Okay, done, check. Let's add our star on top of the tree, which I die cut from our Little Bits Stars collection using gold glitter cardstock. And we'll put a little bit of adhesive dot of glue right on top of the tree and stick that star on there. And then I used the Very Merry Sentiment from Sundry Sentiments Holiday. I'm going to put a little bit of foam tape on the back of this, and then we'll tack that down. I centered this from top to bottom on the tree, and then after this, it is easy to just add those little glitter drop ornaments kind of popped in and around the tree. So here's what it looks like with the glitter drops on it. And we will go ahead and create that card base now. I know everybody's excited to hear about this stamp that I used. I'm using green tea cardstock for the card base. And then I'm going to do tone-on-tone stamping using the Thrill of Hope pop-out stamp. As I mentioned earlier, this is a 2-piece stamp, so you can just pop that sentiment out if you don't want to use it. It says, "A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices." So it is a really pretty Christmas themed stamp. But let's say you don't want to do that. You can just use this background piece. So let me grab my Misty here and we'll get this set up. I've got some adhesive down there already. So I'll center the card base on there and make sure it's straight. Close the back lid, press it down. When we open it up, that card base is going to be perfectly in place to stamp our background, or border, I guess you would call it. And then I have green tea here. So this is what I call tone on tone stamping, is when you use the same color ink and cardstock, which gives you just that almost watercolor, or not watercolor, watermarked look, which you can achieve also by using Versamark ink over any colored cardstock. It will darken it. Okay.
Everyone's excited to see the mini glass board in action.
All right, we're getting there. Okay, so here's that. And now it's time to splatter it. Okay, let me grab my glass board. We're going to splatter with this water brush. You can even splatter with this, which is another great use. If you're like, I don't like watercoloring, but I can do splattering, then here is your option. Okay, we're gonna take some of the medium out of the jar and place it onto, you know what? I never thought we'd make it through this jar, but
Is it almost there?
we're getting there.
What?
I'm kind of digging the sides a little bit to, I wonder if I need to get my little diggy tool out and see if we can
Yes.
kind of consolidate. Okay, so because there's water in this brush, it's kind of already mixing it with water. I can even squeeze and get a couple little drops out of the brush and just mix it right like that. 2 or 3 drops of water mixed with the splatter medium that I pulled out of that jar. This is the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. If you don't have it, highly recommend it. It is sits on the top of your cardstock and provides a really bright white splatter. So I'm going to bring in my splatter box. This is one area that I don't live on the edge. I do use a splatter box.
Thank you for doing that for me.
Yes, Whitney would be cleaning splatters off of everywhere. So there's my little, this is what I usually use an acrylic block for, but I love the portability of our sweet little mini glass board. And I'm just going to pick that ink up with this, and I'm going to take and I'm tapping on the top of this water brush. I found that I got a lot more control. So normally with a paintbrush, I would take the paintbrush and tap it on my finger. But particularly when using this brush, I found it to be a lot more controlling if I actually tapped the brush with my finger instead of tapping the brush on my finger. Hopefully that makes sense. Am I saying words that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And you can tap harder or to get kind of more splatters or drops. And then we'll take this out. We're going to do our easy clean while this is drying, because this does take a few minutes to dry. So we'll do a little cleaning, which we love around here. We come up with lots of products that make cleaning easier because nobody likes to do it.
It's like laundry. Can we make a product for that, please?
I'm not sure I can make laundry easier for you.
No.
Start involving your children and then it
Yes.
will be easier for you.
True.
Okay, so we can wash out some of that more stubborn, the splatter medium in our little dish here and just scrub those bristles along the bottom or the sides to get because that does kind of seep up into your brush, and you want to make sure see if I squeeze that, I can still get more out of the bristles. So if you're moving right along to something else, you can clean it this way. Otherwise, if you're using this for splatter medium, maybe you might want to just dedicate your brush to splattering, or it is a good idea to clean it after the use. Otherwise, it can get clogged up in the kind of mechanism that allows the water to come out. So I think I did pretty good. My water's cloudy. I got all of the splatter medium out of there. Now to clean your glass board, baby wipe, a little bit of water. If I just dip this in here and kind of clean off.
The beauty of a glass board.
You can use alcohol if you want, but the splatter does clean up nicely with just some water. And I did let some splatter, particularly the Dr. P.H. Martin's, I let it dry on there last night, and it came off just fine with water this morning. So even if you let it dry on there, it will come off nicely. Okay. Let's keep moving on, putting some things together. I have no idea where I put that now. Here it is. Okay,
Crafter math.
Yes, it's looking like crafter math over here. This is going to go on, and you'll see the splatters all the way around the outside. So, oh, that's so fun. Yes, I got to meet your son Spencer yesterday. I saw him in the studio. What a wonderful son you have to stop by and see us here and get a picture and send it to you. So that was super fun. I'm so glad that he made it in and had a good time doing the make and take. So yes, that's awesome. Okay, so this card is pretty well finished. Then we have, let's do this one tag, because I know there might be some questions about what do I do with these tiny little tags. I mean, you can just use it as a tag and write to from on the back. There isn't a lot of room on the front. But a lot of times with these smaller tags, what I like to do is tie them onto a larger tag. So I wanted to show you that option because we have some perfect artwork that works nicely with this same style, and that is the Seasonal Sprig stamp set. There's also a coordinating stencil for this, so if you like to stamp and then fill in with a stencil, you can do that. This would be a great one if you're wanting to make more of these in this style, but you can't purchase the additional watercolor cards at this time, so you would purchase this stamp set. You can stamp it in Oreo ink, and then you can watercolor it if you do that on the watercolor cardstock. For now, we're going to take one of those tags that's die cut from the set you received in your advent calendar, and I'm going to place it down in my MISTI, and then let's see, I got to make sure I leave enough room for the stamp to go, because it is a fairly large stamp. It's a great one for Christmas cards. I've used it in years past. All right, so I want to leave just a touch of room down here for my 2, and I can see now that I need to move my die cut over so that my whole stamp will fit on this piece. We'll hold it in place with a magnet. This time, because I'm not going to be watercoloring the image, I'm going to use VersaFine Clair. However, if you are watercoloring, I do prefer using our Oreo ink. Just wanted to mention that so there's no confusion. I did talk about Oreo and using that for watercoloring, but this time I'm just stamping in black. And the VersaFine Clair works awesome for that.
The Seasonal Sprig seems to be a favorite of many.
Yes?
Yes, they love it as well.
It has been in our catalog for a few years now, and I still reach for it. So that is the sign of a good basic, good stamp. Okay, so here's that piece. I think I left my Sundry Sentiments over there where my to from is at.
Okay.
So this would just tie on then with you could kind of put it off to this side, and then that extra space here can be used for the to and the from. Thank you. And we'll set that up in here too, because usually we have an acrylic block sitting on the desk, but guess what? We don't need to anymore because all we ever used it for was splattering. Okay, so this is from Sundry Sentiments Holiday, which is the same sentiment set that I used on the tree. And we're gonna do a quick little to from in here. Just arrange those as best you can and then pick them up, and then when you turn it over you can see, okay, that one was a little bit crooky and that one looks pretty good, so I'm gonna leave that. Okay, and then we can stamp these with the VersaFine again, and there you have it. Another way to use those little tags and provide some color, but get yourself something a little bit larger that fits nicely on a gift. So let's bring back some of our projects and you guys can see them all together one more time. I am so excited about being live every Friday in December, so I hope you guys will continue to join me as we make it through our Advent calendar. I'd love to hear what was your favorite from this week. I know they all kind of work together, but did you have one that you thought, I will definitely use this over and over and over? What was your favorite gift from this week? All right. Are we ready? I'm going to say farewell one more time. Okay. Thank you guys again for joining in, for staying 15 minutes longer than I usually go. I had a lot of fun sharing with you the Advent calendar goodies from this week. I hope you enjoy the next several gifts, and I will plan to see you again next Friday to talk about the Advent calendar. Before that, I hope you tune in on Tuesday. We have a new release coming for you, so